by the time Julius and Ethel Rosenberg are executed in June 1953, there's no line that wouldn't be crossed in the name of containing communism. In a country that's convinced it's better dead than red.
The Americans become obsessed with secrecy in a way we've never been before.
We ask every citizen to immediately report any information regarding espionage, sabotage, or un-American activities.
It becomes an obsession for J. Edgar Hoover, the FBI, and the congressional investigators. They begin to question the loyalty of people like Robert Oppenheimer.
J. Robert Oppenheimer, the man who led the Manhattan Project at Los Alamos.
J. Robert Oppenheimer was an American theoretical physicist and was considered extremely brilliant at a very young age.
With the war over, the future of the American nuclear program is up for debate. Conflicts arise between Oppenheimer and a former friend and colleague, one of the world's leading physicists, Edward Teller.
Teller became a major advocate for building not just nuclear weapons, but thermonuclear weapons. This is a weapon that was imagined as being easily 1,000 times more powerful.
Oppenheimer isn't convinced. And he wasn't alone.
Some of the scientists who opposed him, most importantly the General Advisory Committee to the U.S. Atomic Energy Commission, they unanimously voted against building the hydrogen bomb. Several of its members said this is a weapon that's too large for any military target. It would constitute a weapon of genocide. It would be evil.
Teller becomes the H-bomb's most outspoken champion.
He felt that if the Soviet Union especially got the atomic bomb, then the proper response was to get the hydrogen bomb in the United States, that you always had to stay one step ahead. Eventually came to see anybody who stood in the way of progress in nuclear weapons development as potentially being traitorous.
Teller teams up with Lewis Strauss, powerful chairman of the Atomic Energy Commission, and another aggressive supporter of the H-bomb.
Strauss was particularly bitter toward Oppenheimer. Oppenheimer had no respect for Strauss. Oppenheimer even ridiculed him.
Teller and Strauss decide that Oppenheimer can no longer be trusted with America's nuclear secrets.
This is a conspiracy. There is an active conspiracy between people like Strauss, Teller, several other scientists as well.
They get a chance to act when a letter reaches President Eisenhower accusing Oppenheimer of being a Soviet agent.
Oppenheimer's past is starting to become a major liability. In the 1930s, he became very active in sort of far-left communist causes.
We don't know for sure if Oppenheimer himself was in the Communist Party, but everybody around him, including his wife, his brother's wife, all of his graduate students, they were all in the Communist Party.
Eisenhower revokes his security clearance. In response, Oppenheimer demands a hearing.
The hearing is not supposed to be a trial, but it plays out a lot like a trial. It's very adversarial. It turns out to be a really awful experience for Oppenheimer. Every decision he made, every failure he had in his life, the fact that he had mistresses and affairs, the fact that he had lied to security officers, all of this comes out.
After 19 days, the commission announces its decision.
Though they do say that they don't have any evidence that he was a spy, and they don't really have any evidence that he was disloyal. What they eventually conclude was he's unreliable at times.
His clearance revoked. Oppenheimer is forced into scientific exile. He lives out his life a broken man. But it turns out the deck was stacked against Oppenheimer. A series of crucial declassifications reveal what really happened. His defense team had their hands tied from the start. Without the necessary security clearance, they couldn't even review many of the charges against him. They were removed from the room when the prosecution presented classified evidence. They were also being wiretapped. May 2009. Notebooks made with special access to KGB archives are released, confirming that Oppenheimer was never involved in Soviet espionage. The October 2014 declassification was the biggest of all. 19 volumes of transcripts from the hearing, much of which would have supported Oppenheimer's public claims of innocence.
Oppenheimer was shattered by the whole experience of the hearing and its consequences. He ended up sort of retiring to an island in the Caribbean and essentially drinking himself to death.
For many, he is another example of an innocent victim of the Red Scare.
He became really a martyr. He became a symbol of a muzzle on people, a sort of punishment for their political positions.
As anti-communist politics continue to dominate America, the country embraces Teller's vision of its nuclear future. The device he first called the Super, the H-bomb. Beginning in 1952, the U.S. films dozens of thermonuclear tests, studying the frightening power of the H-bomb. These images were only recently declassified. America has built the most destructive weapon the world has ever seen.